How do you lose a $20 billion airport? Easy. You build it in the middle of the sea, and forget to check how soft the mud is beneath it. When Japan ran out of land, engineers built a giant artificial island right in the bay. It was supposed to be a brilliant engineering miracle, but the soft seafloor started collapsing under its massive weight, turning a mega project into a non-stop fight just to stay above water. Back in the 1980s, the Japanese city of Osaka faced a massive crisis. Their local airport was completely overwhelmed with traffic, but the surrounding area was packed solid with dense urban neighborhoods and steep mountains. Every single flight caused intense noise complaints from angry residents, making it impossible to expand the existing runway or build a new one on land. That is when engineers proposed a mind-blowing concept that sounded like science fiction. If there is literally zero empty ground left on land, why not build an entire international airport in the middle of the sea? By placing it miles off the coast in open water, planes could land and take off day and night without disturbing a single soul. Turning this crazy dream into reality required an engineering effort never seen before in human history. Construction crews had to carve out entire mountains on the mainland just to collect enough material. Massive barges worked non-stop around the clock, hauling hundreds of millions of tons of crushed rock and soil straight out into the ocean bay. Worker crews first dropped heavy boulders deep into the water to build a giant underwater perimeter wall. Then, ship after ship dumped layer upon layer of earth into the open sea, slowly raising a massive flat surface out of the waves. Against all odds, a gigantic artificial island emerged right in the middle of deep ocean water. To top off this artificial marvel, world-renowned architects designed a sleek, futuristic terminal building shaped like a gigantic airplane wing. The entire structure was engineered to handle thousands of passengers smoothly while resisting fierce ocean gales. It was celebrated across the globe as one of the greatest civil engineering achievements ever made. After years of non-stop construction and billions of dollars spent, the world watched in awe as a brand new gateway rose out of the ocean. Everyone believed humanity had finally conquered the sea. But deep underwater, far out of sight, the heavy artificial island was already starting to crush the fragile ground beneath it. In September 1994, Kansai International Airport officially opened its doors to the world. The first commercial flights touched down smoothly on the artificial island, marking a monumental moment in aviation history. News cameras from around the globe broadcasted the event, calling it a modern wonder of the world. Travelers were blown away by the experience. They could board a high-speed train on the mainland and arrive directly at a futuristic terminal sitting in the ocean. The airport ran flawlessly, handling hundreds of flights a day without a single noise complaint from local cities. For a short moment, it seemed like Japan had pulled off a flawless victory over nature. However, while champagne glasses were clinking at the opening ceremony, a silent disaster was already unfolding beneath the seafloor. The ocean bay looked calm on the surface, but the geology underneath held a massive hidden trap. The bottom of Osaka Bay was not made of solid bedrock or sturdy stone. Instead, it was covered in thick layers of soft, watery mud and ancient clay that had settled there over thousands of years. This squishy ground was essentially a giant, waterlogged sponge waiting to be crushed. Engineers knew the seabed would compress slightly under the weight of the island, and they had prepared for some initial settling. But what they did not fully grasp was the sheer depth of the ancient clay layers hiding underneath. Millions of tons of heavy rock and soil were putting unprecedented pressure on a foundation that simply could not hold it. As the weight pressed down, trapped water was violently squeezed out of the deep clay layers. The seabed began to collapse at a shocking speed, causing the entire multi-billion-dollar island to sink much faster than any computer model had predicted. Behind closed doors, celebration quickly turned into absolute panic. The sinking was not just dangerously fast, it was wildly uneven. One side of the island was plunging into the mud much quicker than the other. This created a terrifying tilt across the entire site, threatening to snap the massive main terminal building right in half. Imagine a modern airport terminal, over a kilometer long, bending like a flexible ruler. Glass windows began cracking under extreme strain. Heavy doors stuck in their frames, and internal pipes started snapping. Engineers realized that if they did not stop the uneven tilt immediately, the entire structure would break apart. Fixing a sinking building on dry land is difficult, but fixing a sinking structure in the ocean is almost impossible. You cannot just pour more concrete, because adding extra weight would make the island sink even faster. The team had to invent a completely new way to keep the building level without adding heavy weight. Engineers dug out massive underground basements directly beneath the supporting pillars of the terminal. They installed hundreds of heavy-duty hydraulic jacks beneath the main columns. These giant steel lifters functioned like massive car jacks, capable of raising heavy concrete columns millimeter by millimeter. They wired the entire building with advanced electronic sensors that monitored every microscopic movement. Whenever one section of the floor sank even a tiny fraction, computers instantly detected the drop and commanded the hydraulic jacks beneath that area to pump up, pushing the building back into perfect balance. This meant workers were essentially levitating a giant airport building, while the ground beneath it kept falling away. Maintenance teams worked around the clock in dark underground rooms, adding metal plates beneath lifted pillars. It was an incredible mechanical solution, but it was also a non-stop, insanely expensive fight for survival. Just as engineers believed they had stabilized the island's sinking using high-tech hydraulic jacks, nature struck back with unbelievable force. In September 2018, Typhoon Jebi, one of the most destructive ocean storms in decades, headed straight toward Osaka Bay. Powerful winds whipped up the ocean surface, creating giant waves that rolled aggressively toward the artificial island from every direction. The storm brought unprecedented tidal surges, raising sea levels to dangerous heights never seen before around the airport. The massive concrete seawalls, built to protect the runways from the ocean, were completely overwhelmed by continuous walls of churning seawater. Millions of gallons of salt water crashed over the defenses, quickly transforming the active runways into a vast, flooded ocean lake. The floodwaters did not stop at the tarmac. Seawater violently poured into the underground basements of the terminal buildings, where the critical power equipment and computer systems were located. Electrical generators were instantly ruined, cutting off power to the entire complex and leaving thousands of stranded passengers stuck in total darkness without air conditioning or working facilities. As if a flooded terminal and a complete power blackout were not catastrophic enough, an even worse nightmare was unfolding in the open bay. High winds ripped a giant 3,000-ton fuel tanker directly from its deep-sea anchors. Uncontrolled and completely at the mercy of the raging ocean, the massive iron vessel drifted rapidly toward the airport's only lifeline. The heavy steel tanker smashed violently into the side of the massive bridge connecting the artificial island to the mainland. The brutal force of the collision tore away highway lanes, severed vital fuel supply lines, and shattered the train tracks. In a single terrifying moment, the island's only physical connection to the rest of Japan was utterly destroyed. Kansai International Airport was now completely trapped in the middle of a roaring ocean storm, flooded with salt water and completely unreachable by road or rail. Emergency rescue boats could not operate in the violent waves, leaving thousands of people marooned on a sinking island. It was a terrifying wake-up call, proving that the ocean itself was far more unpredictable than engineers ever imagined. Right after Typhoon Jebi battered the facility, engineers spent billions of dollars rebuilding the damaged areas, raising the ocean walls, and adding massive water pumps. They truly believed these upgraded defenses would protect the airport from any future storm.
But just as the construction crews wrapped up their work, a much bigger global crisis began unfolding that no wall could easily stop: rapidly rising ocean temperatures.
Warm ocean waters act like high-octane fuel for tropical storms, triggering super typhoons across the Pacific Ocean that are far more intense than anything recorded in history. Monstrous tempests that used to happen once every 100 years are now sweeping through Osaka Bay with terrifying frequency. These relentless storms keep pounding the artificial island with colossal waves, pushing the facility's engineered defenses to their absolute breaking point, time and time again. At the exact same time, melting polar ice caps are causing global sea levels to steadily creep upward year after year. For a traditional city built safely inland on high ground, a few extra inches of water might not seem like an immediate catastrophe. But for a man-made island sitting just a few meters above the ocean waves, even a tiny rise in the surrounding sea is a full-blown existential nightmare for every single runway. This creates what scientists call a terrifying double threat for the engineering teams stationed on the island. While the surrounding ocean level is constantly climbing higher due to climate change, the heavy multi-billion-dollar airport is simultaneously sinking deeper into the soft seabed mud below. The crucial buffer zone between the pounding ocean waves and the active jet runways is rapidly shrinking from both directions at once. Because of this relentless pressure from above and below, maintenance crews find themselves trapped in a permanent construction loop. Every single time the ocean gets dangerously close to the tarmac, workers are forced to stack thousands of heavy concrete blocks, reinforce the dikes, and build the outer walls even higher. They are pouring endless amounts of money and effort into a continuous battle just to keep the facility dry for another day. Japan poured a massive fortune into building this futuristic engineering marvel right in the middle of open water, proving that human ingenuity could conquer the ocean. However, fighting against an active sinking seabed while simultaneously battling a rising global ocean might be a two-front war that humans simply cannot win. No matter how much concrete we pour into the sea, nature always seems to hold the ultimate upper hand. Today, Kansai International Airport remains fully operational, serving millions of passengers every single year. Giant passenger jets continue to land and take off smoothly on an island that is literally floating on top of a hydraulic support system. To the average traveler walking through the sleek, modern glass terminal, everything looks completely normal and safe. However, beneath that polished floor and busy tarmac, a relentless war is being fought every second of the day. Hundreds of underground sensors constantly monitor the seabed, while heavy hydraulic jacks and massive water pumps work non-stop to keep the water out. Engineers have accepted that the island will never truly stop sinking, meaning this multi-billion-dollar maintenance routine will never end. The lessons learned from Kansai have completely changed how engineers build modern artificial islands around the world. Projects in places like Dubai, Hong Kong, and China have used advanced soil stabilization techniques inspired by the mistakes made in Osaka Bay. By studying why Kansai sank, future generations have learned how to build much stronger foundations in deep ocean waters. Still, the massive price tag of keeping Kansai alive raises serious questions about the future of megaprojects. Japan has already spent tens of billions of dollars just to keep a single airport above water, with no end in sight. Some experts argue that trying to outsmart nature on this scale was a mistake, while others see it as humanity's ultimate engineering triumph. Kansai stands as a monument to human courage and stubborn determination against impossible odds. It proved that we have the technology to build an entire city in the middle of the deep ocean, even if nature constantly tries to swallow it back down. Whether it survives the next century or eventually succumbs to the rising tides, it will go down in history as one of the most audacious projects ever attempted. This incredible story leaves us with a fascinating question about how far we should push human engineering against the power of nature.
Do you think building this sinking airport was a brilliant engineering victory or a multi-billion-dollar mistake? Would you be brave enough to land on a runway that is constantly fighting the ocean? Let us know in the comments below.